People think I returned to Dubai because I wanted to. That's not entirely true. I returned because staying away was no longer an option, not because of force, but because of pressure. The kind of pressure that doesn't announce itself, it just accumulates until leaving feels impossible, until returning feels inevitable. Today, I'm going to tell you the truth behind my sudden return to Dubai, not the official version, the real one, the one that explains what happens when duty stops waiting and distance stops protecting. Before I explain why I returned, you need to understand why I left. I didn't leave Dubai casually. I didn't take a vacation that lasted too long. I left because I needed space. Space from expectation. Space from observation. Space from the constant weight of being the crown prince. Every day in Dubai, I am watched. Every move analyzed. Every word interpreted. Every silence questioned. That pressure is exhausting, even when you're trained for it. Even when you accept it as part of the role, there are moments when you need to breathe, to exist without performance, to remember who you are beneath the title. So I left, not permanently, not as rebellion, but as survival. I went to places where I could move freely, where my name didn't carry the same weight, where I could think without immediate consequence. And for a while, that distance gave me something I rarely have. Clarity. Clarity about what I want, about what I'm capable of, about who I am when duty isn't defining every moment. That clarity was valuable, but it was also dangerous because clarity creates questions, and questions create tension. And tension, when you're the crown prince, creates problems. The pressure to return didn't start immediately. At first, my absence was tolerated, explained as travel, as responsibility elsewhere, as normal royal activity. But tolerance has limits, and those limits are determined not by time, but by perception. The longer I stayed away, the more people began to ask questions. Not publicly, privately, inside the family, inside the palace, inside the circles that determine what's acceptable and what's not. Questions like, when is he coming back? Why is he staying away so long? Is something wrong? Is he avoiding responsibility? Those questions created discomfort. And discomfort in royal families is always addressed, not through conversation, through expectation. I started receiving messages, not demands, reminders. Reminders of upcoming events, of responsibilities that required my presence, of decisions that needed my input. Each message was polite, professional, but underneath the politeness was a clear message. It's time to come back. I delayed, not because I was avoiding duty, but because I wasn't ready to return to the pressure I had left. I needed more time, more space, more clarity. But time in my world is not mine to take, it's allocated. And my allocation had run out. The turning point came when the pressure shifted from polite reminders to direct expectation. I received a call, not from an advisor, from my father. The conversation was brief, formal, but the message was unmistakable. Your presence is required. The family needs you here. Dubai needs you here. This has gone on long enough. He didn't say, come back immediately, but the implication was clear. Staying away any longer would create consequences, not legal consequences, relational consequences, the kind that damage trust, that create distance, that suggests you're not committed to the role you were born into. And in royal families, perceived lack of commitment is unforgivable because commitment is not optional. It's the foundation of everything. So when my father called, I understood the decision had been made not by me, for me. And resisting would only create problems I wasn't willing to face. So I started preparing to return. Not eagerly, not happily, but inevitably. Returning to Dubai meant returning to structure, to observation, to the role I had briefly escaped. I knew what waited for me: scheduled appearances, public duties, constant visibility. The pressure that had driven me away in the first place But there was something else too. Accountability. I would have to explain without actually explaining where I had been, what I had been doing, why I had stayed away so long. And those explanations would be analyzed, interpreted, used to measure my loyalty, my commitment, my reliability. I also knew that returning meant re-entering the marriage. The arranged marriage I had accepted but never chosen. The structure that exists functionally but not emotionally. Distance had given me space from that reality. Returning meant confronting it again, living inside it, performing it, even though nothing about it had changed. That prospect was exhausting, but unavoidable, because my life is not designed around my comfort, it's designed around duty, and duty requires presence, consistent, visible, undeniable presence. When I returned, I did it quietly. No grand announcement, no explanation. I simply reappeared at events, at responsibilities, in the places I was expected to be. The palace treated it as if nothing had happened, as if my absence had been planned all along, as if there was nothing unusual about the timing. That's how royal families handle internal tension. They normalize it. They absorb it into the narrative. They move forward without acknowledgement, and everyone is expected to do the same. So I resumed my role. I attended meetings. I fulfilled obligations. I smiled for cameras. I performed normalcy. But internally, nothing had changed. I still felt the same pressure, the same exhaustion, the same tension between who I am and what I'm expected to be. Returning didn't solve that. It just postponed the breaking point. Because the breaking point is still coming. I can feel it. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually, because you can only perform a role for so long before it starts breaking you. And I'm closer to that edge than anyone realizes. People see my return and assume everything is fine. That I came back because I wanted to. That I'm settled. That I'm committed. None of that is true. I came back because I had no choice. Because staying away would have created consequences I wasn't willing to face. Because duty doesn't negotiate. It demands, and I was raised to comply. But compliance is not happiness, and presence is not peace. I am here. But I am not whole. I am visible, but I am not settled. I am performing, but I am not fulfilled. And that gap between what people see and what I feel grows wider every day. People don't understand that royal life is not about freedom. It's about function. You don't get to choose where you are. You go where you're needed. You stay as long as you're required. You return when you're told. And you do it all with a smile. Because showing strain is weakness. And weakness is unacceptable. So I hide it. I perform strength. I perform commitment. I perform normalcy. But underneath, I'm exhausted. And returning to Dubai didn't change that. It just made hiding it harder. I'm telling this now because silence creates misunderstanding. People assume my return means I'm fine, that I've accepted my role completely, that I've moved past whatever tension existed. None of that is true. I returned because I had to, not because I wanted to. And that difference matters, because it reveals the truth about royal life. That choice is an illusion, that freedom is temporary, that duty always wins, no matter how far you run, no matter how long you stay away. Duty waits, and eventually it pulls you back, not gently, inevitably, and you comply, not because you agree, but because the cost of refusal is everything you were raised to protect. The truth behind my sudden return to Dubai is simple. I didn't return because I was ready. I returned because I was required. Because staying away had stopped being an option. Because the pressure had reached a point where compliance was the only path. So I came back. I resumed my role. I performed normalcy, but nothing inside me changed. I'm still the same person who left, still carrying the same tension, still questioning the same things, still wondering if this life, this role, this constant performance is sustainable. I don't have the answer to that yet, but I know this: returning didn't solve anything. It just postponed the reckoning, and the reckoning is coming, not today, but eventually, because you can only live inside a role that doesn't fit for so long before something breaks, and I'm closer to that breaking point than anyone knows. That's the truth behind my sudden return to Dubai. Not resolution, postponement. And postponement is not the same as peace. If this helped you understand my return, I'm glad. Not because I need sympathy, but because truth, even uncomfortable truth, is better than assumptions. Thank you for listening.